Hey everybody, Certified High Performance Coach Michelle Weimer here with you today. Thank you for joining me for Wednesday Wisdom. Today we are finishing up our series on energy. So if you've been following along, that's fantastic. If you have not, no worries. You can catch up by checking out some of the other videos or simply just listen in today because today I want to kind of finish this up by talking about some of those sneaky little habits that we have that drain our energy without us even realizing it. So, we all know, even though common sense isn't always common practice, we all know those common habits that either drain our energy or can help improve our energy. So think about, the common habits that one might think about when they think about how to boost their energy. You think, oh, well, I know I need to eat right. I know I need to get good sleep, managing my stress, those kinds of simple, and maybe not simple, but those more common habits that affect our energy levels. But what we're talking about today is not the common stuff, but the sneaky habits that we have that we don't even realize or recognize. They're stealing our energy, but yet they are. So let me give you some examples. Let's start with some examples. What I would challenge you to do this week is think through that and start to really pay attention to how you're showing up every day. So little things like taking things personally. If somebody's ranting about something or somebody's behaving a certain way, do you take it personally? Do you let it affect you on a personal level? Holding on to the past. So often people hold grudges from the past hurts or pains, or they just hold on to the past, something that, has happened and you can't change it, but you're kind of stuck there. That being stuck, it's like being in quicksand. You might try to move, but you can't really move. And think about how exhausting that can be. Comparing yourself to others. And I see this common, like on social media. Everybody likes to post all these great things about their lives, So when you look at social media, if you're on it for too long and you're like, wow, they have this great life. Oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. Look how beautiful. Well, most of the time people post the good stuff. They don't always post the bad stuff. And so if you're comparing yourself all the time to other people, again, whether it's, it does happen, it's very common on social media, but it could be happening in other areas of your life. I mean, how many times have you looked at someone in the store and you're like, wow, that person looks like they have it all together. And then you start to kind of like doubt yourself and you kind of get down on yourself. And so that comparison, when you're comparing yourself all the time to everybody else, pretty soon you start to feel like, man, nothing I have and no way that I am is ever good enough. And talk about an energy drainer, right? Like that's going to really suck you down. Another one that's super common is overthinking. How many times have you overthought something, like a situation or a decision that you have to make? And I'm guilty about this one, right? Like I can confess I've done this before myself. I will overthink a decision because maybe I'm worried about, is it going to be the right decision or the wrong decision? But it is extremely draining to keep yourself, and again, like thinking about stuck, like spinning on this wheel of, well, should I do this? Should I do that? And overthinking something. And what happens often, if this is a habit, remember we're talking about the sneaky little bad habits, this can become a habit and then you start to overthink everything. Right? So it's one thing when you have a big decision to make and you have to think through that decision, but we're talking about overthinking and overthinking all the time. And it can really be exhausting when you're overthinking everything. Fueling drama or gossiping, like you guys, that's just not good for anybody, right? And likewise, I guess the next piece of that I would add is lying, both to other people, but also to yourself. So the other people thing makes sense, and maybe fueling drama goes hand in hand with that, or gossiping goes hand in hand with that. But lying, can be part of it. Also lying to yourself, right? Like how often do you say, I'm going to change this, or I'm going to do this differently, or I'm not going to allow this anymore in my life, and then you don't stick with it. And we find that sometimes we're lying to ourselves as much as, or more than we're lying to everybody else. And that's exhausting. Lying is exhausting. Complaining, right? So complaining or having a negative attitude or a negative outlook. It's so easy if you are around other people, and this maybe goes hand in hand with our conversation a couple weeks ago about the energy that you bring into a room, or the energy that other people are giving off. And so if there's a lot of negativity that you're around all the time, it's easy to get sucked into that. But what, again, we're talking about those sneaky bad habits that we might have that we don't even realize are sucking energy out of it. Us will think about, like, how exhausting is it to be negative all the time? And what's interesting is most people who are negative, they don't even realize that that's what they're doing. Like, they're just constantly talking about things that are in a negative way, like I was saying, like a negative attitude or a negative outlook. And complaining becomes a big part of that. And so those three components together, it's tiring, it's exhausting to be negative. Negative, if you remember when we talked about emotions, that's negative emotions bring about negative energy, or in this case, what we're talking about, it sucks our energy out of us. It's exhausting. Now, here's one that's big, that, oh gosh, I've worked with so many people who are people pleasers. So if you're a people pleaser, raise your hand and confess it now, and then declare that you are done with it, because people pleasing is exhausting. And the reason why it's so exhausting, quite honestly, is because there's no way you can please everyone. And when you're a people pleaser, you are trying to please everyone. And it's nearly impossible. And so what happens is we're always in this mode of trying to make everybody else happy. And when we're trying to make everybody else happy, we usually end up not happy, which goes back to that negative emotion. And we are exhausted because, again, it's very difficult to please everyone. A couple others, being judgmental, which, when I was talking earlier about comparing yourself to others, and how detrimental that can be to your energy. But being judgmental is another component, maybe just another level of that. Whether you're judging yourself, and let's face it, some of us, the high performers, people who are high achievers, they want to always be their best, they're always challenging themselves. But what can happen sometimes is, in that challenging of yourself, it can turn into negativity and judgment. So you got to be really careful about that. And, have that growth mindset, like always be in the mode of growing, but also recognize your successes and not see what you're doing as a judgment, but rather an observation. So that's a whole nother topic for another time, but I just want to mention that judging and being judgmental can be very tiring. And interestingly enough, it's a habit that a lot of people have. Just try that. If nothing else, try to not judge anybody for a week. It's interesting how much we do judge, and it's tiring because it's a negative thing. So again, think about all these things. If you're someone who dwells on problems, that's another one, dwelling on problems rather than looking for solutions. Thinking about, like, if you are on a treadmill and you're like going, but you're not going anywhere, or on a stationary bike, that's a lot like dwelling on the problem, but not ever getting to a solution. So shifting your focus from that problem to the solution is a way to get out of that. And again, if you think about, you may ride that stationary bike forever and you don't really go anywhere, but you're still tired when it's all done. Like, that's what dwelling on the problem is like. So how do you get out of it? Last little bit I want to tell you today. If you are someone who is, after I've given you this list, and think about maybe some more that apply for you, and you're like, wow, I do some of that stuff, and I didn't realize that those sneaky little habits were stealing my energy. Now you know, and awareness is the first step to change. So now what do? In order to break free from these habits, it's, like investing your energy into what matters, right? We only have so much energy. Like, why waste it on these things? Instead, let's invest your energy into what really matters most to you. And this actually goes back to our topic last week on focused energy, really focusing your energy on what matters. So how do you do it, right? So first and foremost, again, as I said, the awareness, recognizing that that you're doing some of these things, that some of these habits are a part of your way of life, and knowing, okay, I'm done with this, I don't want to do this anymore, right? Then making the shift in terms of your behavior and your thoughts. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, one of the easiest ways to do that is to ask yourself powerful questions that can redirect your thoughts. They redirect your thoughts and they can redirect your behavior. So something like, is this really important? So say you're the overthinker and you overthink everything. Like, is this really important? Check that. Is this necessary? Can I fix this? Or is this mine to own? And that's a big one. Is this mine to own? How is this serving me? That's another question that's really powerful, right? Because honestly, sometimes our negativity or our judgment or comparing ourselves to others or, fueling drama, those things may serve you in some way, but I would challenge you, if you're finding that it serves you in some way, to really check yourself and see, is it a positive, healthy way? Odds are it's not. So, how is it serving me? And then, what's the tough truth that I know and that I know I need to change? How can I change it, right? And so putting those two pieces together, what's the tough truth here that I have to admit to? Like, so maybe you are a people pleaser and you're like, tough truth is I'm a people pleaser and it's killing me. It's exhausting and I'm not happy. And if that's your tough truth, then how can I change it? That would be your next question. The powerful questions that start to shift your focus from where you're at or the problem or the behavior that you're currently in to the more powerful, positive, and productive solutions to getting out of those habits. You might ask yourself, where's my focus, right? Where's my focus right now? And maybe that can help you shift. If you're someone who tends to have a negative outlook and a negative attitude, what's my focus? What am I focusing on here? And how can I change that? Am I being present? Am I being pleasant? Am I being positive? Right? That could be helpful. Or maybe you have some other words that fit for you, words that you want to live by. Ask yourself, am I doing these things right now? And if you're not, then it's time to shift that. And am I reacting or am I responding like I want to? So little questions, and again, everybody's different. So find the questions that work for you. These are just suggestions, and this list of sneaky bad habits that steal your energy, it's just the beginning of a list, but these are some of the more common ones. So check yourself and see, how often do you practice these bad habits, and how can you change? What are the questions that you can pose to yourself to start get you thinking and behaving in a different way? So I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope you really enjoyed this series. If you want to know more about how to increase your energy, and let's face it, who does not want more energy? I would encourage you to sign up for my free mini-series. You can go to michelleweimer.com/energy. I'll make sure that link is here for you. And, just go and get signed up. It's a free series. It'll be delivered to you. And it actually focuses a little bit more on those common habits that you can change, and gives you some really great insights on how to be able to do that. And again, if you missed any of this series this month, please look back at the videos and make sure that you are following. Thank you again. This is Certified High Performance Coach Michelle Weimer, and until next time, goodbye for now.